One, two, three, one, two, three. All right, let's cut it back here. Again, we still have that severe thunderstorm warning that does include southern Moultrie County and does include Sullivan. That is until about 10:30, 1-inch diameter hail there by radar. Estimates haven't seen any reports just yet from that. We've got Jacob near Arcola now. The storm's starting to leave that warning box right now. Wouldn't be surprised if they issue another one. If not, probably let what's left of this one start to dissipate here. It's getting closer and closer to Arcola, closer to the storm. Right now, you see a lot of gray and a lot of rain out there. He's getting closer and closer. There's been a lot of precipitation within these storms. We've had reports of smaller hail, subsevere hail, which hail was not really the big threat for today. We were more worried about the winds that are going to happen later on for today as well. And it looks like that warning has been allowed to dissipate right now. Jacob's headed closer towards Arcola, maybe heading south towards Mattoon. We'll keep an eye on that. Another look at radar right now. That warning has been allowed to expire here, but there you can see that'd be where the heaviest precipitation is, just to the south and west of Humboldt. Between Mattoon and Charleston, another cell popping up right there. We're watching that storm as we speak, but that's looks like it's going to be a pretty hefty amount of precipitation there just south of Loxa between Charleston and Mattoon. So no warnings right now, but again, we just had that severe thunderstorm warning that was for Moultrie County that has since expired here. Let's take another look at the storm tracker to see what's going on right now. As the storm tracker is diving south to intercept some of those storms closer to the Mattoon, Humboldt, Charleston area. Another look here at what's going on radar. We've got two spots we're watching out for there. Mattoon, Charleston area, the Loxa and Charleston, that little cell right there, a little interesting within the last scan or so, really picked up in terms of precipitation. Still hefty amounts just south and east of Humboldt, not too far from Arcola too. Most of those staying away from I-57, but again, could see a little more precipitation on there as well, so we're going to keep watching those storms. So let's get a broader view of what's going on real quick, and what you'll probably notice is that we've had off and on showers and thunderstorms. In Champaign alone, we already had a big clap of thunder. It was so loud, actually my car went off here a little bit. So let's do a wider zoom out, and you can see that widespread-wise across the area, we have just seen a lot of thunderstorms kind of redevelop here this morning. Some of those producing a little bit more of a heavier precipitation as well, so just keep that in mind. So overall, that's what we're looking at. The two biggest cells closer to Charleston right now. Between Loxa and Charleston, there's that one cell that's just really amping up here. That storm that came through Champaign now moving off to the north and east and really fizzling out even as it got to town. That was the same storm that had a severe thunderstorm warning, one of the first ones of the day, out towards the St. Louis area. Same storm, but really decreasing in intensity as the morning has progressed onward. So far, as you go to the west, we're still seeing some resurgence a little bit there of some precipitation, but that's about it so far. We're more concerned is just south of 50 on 57 towards Charleston and south of Champaign, between Charleston and not too far from Arcola as well here. So we're going to keep looking at these thunderstorms a little bit closer to Tuscola, actually south of Tuscola and Arcola and Cook Mills. Right there, Charleston and Loxa. That one's interesting because it looks like the precipitation has really picked up between those two areas right there within that cell. It's one of the ones we've been keeping an eye on as a storm team. Cooks Mills, right now, getting a lot of the precipitation
so we're going to keep looking at these thunderstorms a little bit closer to Tuscola.
Big storms we're watching so far here in the viewing area. The biggest cells that we have, the most robust cells, I should say, we have. North of Charleston now,
because it looks like the precipitation has really picked up between those
hefty with
two
precipitation
areas right there
that did a few
that
scans
cell.
ago. Let's pull it back a little bit.
It's one of the ones we've been
You
looking
can see, well, let's pull it back even further. You
Cooks
can
Mills
kind of see that
right now getting a
really
lot
it's
of
really
the
picked up
precipitation
in
right now.
intensity once it got to Loxa, Charleston area. There it goes, just south of Loxa, then Charleston, and boom. That was only a couple scans ago. These things are moving pretty quick as well. Some of these storms have had 55 to 60 mile an hour tags on them for position of where they're moving, for their speeds as well from some of these severe thunderstorm warnings. That little cell really picked up its pace once it got to the Charleston area. Still a little bit more of a heavy precipitation just to the east of Humboldt or south of Arcola. I think Arcola is going to get some, maybe a little bit of hail within that as well. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But this is one of the systems we're watching out there, the two storm cells we're watching out for right now between Humboldt and Charleston, right there. Cooks Mills, right there. Cooks Mills and Charleston, those are the two cells we're taking an eye on for. Let's take it over to the storm tracker. We're not going to put Jacob on there, but we are going to we're going to take a look at the storm tracker real quick here. Let's take it over to the storm tracker real quick. We've got Jacob Dickey there in the storm tracker, and so far, let's kind of hear a little bit of the hail clanging on there earlier on. Let's take it over to him and see what he has to say. Jacob, what do you have for us? Jacob, that sounds like a lot of loud hail there. How's your how's the drive been now that you're going through that hail?
Hey, Adam, just
Yes.
to make sure you can hear me here. Yeah, we just had quite a bit of hail, and we are between Arcola and Humboldt. And looks like the biggest hail we're going to have here is probably close to nickel size, but there was a lot of that nickel size hail with here. It lasted about 60 seconds, and that's all. As you turn back to the north here, and you can kind of see the roadways. Got a little bit of coverage here. You know, it's funny because it got pretty loud there for a second. The road's got a nice little covering of some of this hail on here, but you know, we can't get any snow this time of year, so instead we're getting a little bit of hail. How about that? Do you want to mention this cell heading to the northeast? It's splitting between Arcola and Humboldt now. It's going to be heading next to Hinesboro and eventually off to the north and east. And we'll kind of be heading back to the north, driving back into it here, where some of that heaviest hail is. So that certainly is something we were interested to see how big it was, and starting to drive back into the core of that storm now. But for a little while there, definitely folks in the area have heard the loudness of the hail that's been moving on through. So that's my report here from the Storm Tracker. Adam, I want to send it back to you.
Thank you, Jacob. Again, that's Jacob in the Storm Tracker 2. So let's cut it back to here. And we've been seeing a lot of overall just heavy precipitation with these storms. Arcola now seeing that cell that I was mentioning a little bit ago that had that severe thunderstorm warning on it earlier. Now starting to weaken a little bit here, but we're not done yet with some of those storms. We're really starting to see a little bit more of a pickup in terms of precipitation down towards Ashmore, just north of Charleston, Bushton as well, south of Oakland and Hinsboro, roughly towards the area where Jacob is heading. But Arcola now seeing some of that heavy precipitation, but not quite as much as intensity on radar showing up on Bushton and Ashmore too. Again, there are no warnings across the region as of right now, and we're going to pull back and get a wider view because I know we had some claps of thunder here in Champaign that, well, scared me a little bit. They were pretty loud, but that activity's moved out to the north and east, and now that it's a little bit further away from we just got a severe thunderstorm warning there for that cell down just north of Charleston. Near Ashmore, right there. All right, there we go. We've got another severe thunderstorm warning right now. That does include the towns of Redmond, Wetzel, Garland, just in central Illinois. Does include Edgar County and Coles County as well. Moving just to the north of Kansas, but I would still treat this with a little bit of a respect there. Even north of Paris is where it looks like it's going to keep moving through. But again, that's where we're seeing north of Ashmore, a severe thunderstorm warning. Nice straight line with it too as well. It does include Chrisman, Horace, Garland, into Redmond as well, just north of Paris. So that is the severe thunderstorm warning we have going on right now. And again, we didn't have any warnings until I mentioned we had a warning, and then we got one. So we're watching these severe thunderstorms push through the region. Hail has been one of the things we really haven't been talking a lot about because it wasn't really the big factors. Large hail wasn't one of the big concerns we're really thinking of today. And we really haven't seen massive amounts of hail, but enough that it's been something at least worth talking about here. We'll take a quick look at what Jacob's doing there over on the Storm Tracker, but that's about what he's driving through. He had some hail earlier on. Right now, not so much here. This is going through town. We'll turn it right back to me real quick, and you'll see that that storm until about 11:30, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning for Redmond, Wetzel, and Chrisman as well. North of Paris does include Ashmore, and just south of Oakland. It's a very tight box for a severe thunderstorm warning, but again, it's not a very large cell, but enough possibly producing a little bit of hail with it. We're going to keep an eye on that storm as it moves towards the north and east here. It does include Wetzel, Chrisman, but not Paris. However, that storm is still something we're going to watch out for here. Again, we're watching this little cell out there. It's not a very big cell, but it's enough that could see some hail with it there towards north of Ashmore. It's a severe thunderstorm warning. It's a very thin one, too. Doesn't include all of the counties within it, just part of Coles and very much the edge of Coles between Bushton and Ashmore. I think it's just to the north of Ashmore, but still treat it with tons of respect out there. Redmond, Garland, Chrisman included in it, Hunter, but not Paris, just north of Paris. And that is until 11:30. 1-inch hail would be the big concern, the primary concern. We haven't seen really gusty winds with any of these storms just yet for today, but I think that's going to be more of a threat as we go later on into the day as well. And this is one of those cells that if I pull it back a little bit, it has really picked up in intensity, while the one to the north and west of it really kind of died out. That was the one that had a severe thunderstorm warning on it when it was by Windsor and Sullivan. This little cell came out of Mattoon, just south of Mattoon, and then really picked up going to Charleston. And from there, got a severe thunderstorm warning. It really picked up in intensity in terms of getting its precipitation. It's quite the system to watch here for this morning. And again, that storm is moving to about the north and east. Roughly at 55 miles per hour, northeast of Charleston, which makes sense. Again, these are the towns that are included. It's a very tight box. I have to zoom in quite a bit to see what communities are within that severe thunderstorm warning. Garland, Redmond, north of Paris, does include Chrisman as well, the south end of Chrisman, Ashmore, and south of Oakland too. It's a very tight, severe thunderstorm warning, one of the tighter ones I've seen. It's not a very large cell either. It just really had a spike in intensity in terms of precipitation, so that's why I think the National Weather Service did put that out there. We've seen all these little cells kind of pop up, fizzle, and pop up and fizzle. The one to the west of it there that has moved through Arcola, that one, and now just south of Tuscola, not too far from Camargo, that one has had a little bit of just the precipitation falling apart a little bit here, especially on radar, so more so than it has earlier on. This was one of the storms that was actually more warned a little bit ago, but now it has switched over to the one to the south. And that was the one I said I had a sneaking suspicion about when it was over by Loxa and just to the edge of Charleston. So that is until 11:30 yet again. It does include Redmond, Garland, Hunter, Chrisman, north of Ashmore, but south of Garland. That storm is moving to the north and east at about 55 miles per hour here. So up to the north, let's go back up to the north, and a lot of those storms that we had earlier on, we had some cracks of thunder around Champaign, and now that activity has moved out towards Fountain Creek and Alvin, closer to Fowler in Indiana, but it's really fallen apart, and I think part of that's because it's moved away from the warm front. It moved away from really one of the sources to keep it kind of sustained, and that's part of the reason why they've kind of crumpled here. Now, down to the south, they're seeing those storms kind of pick up in intensity because of the warm front here. We'll see if they stick around, but already starting to see some fizzle from the one near Arcola. And I know I keep zooming in and out for this map, but I want to make sure that we get pretty tight on it because it's a very tight, severe thunderstorm warning. Brockton not included, Redmond is, and now that storm's starting to move that way. Even now, with the last couple of scans, this storm not quite as impressive as what it was a little bit ago. So we're keeping an eye on these, but these storms have been pulsing up and then collapsing and pulsing up and dissipating a little bit here. So that's what we've been watching for all morning with these severe thunderstorm warnings that we've had. Just got a report from Jacob, more Nichols, but a lot of them here. He's going to put some more back, bring some video back of some of the hail that he's seen already this morning. And again, last couple of scans have made this storm look less impressive. Let's pull it back a little bit, and you can kind of see that that hail core kind of really fell apart here. Looks like it's trying to spike back up again, but it was a little bit more impressive a while ago when they first put the warning out, and now not so much. Just like that storm off to the north and west of it here, I think it's getting away from that warm front, and that's what's causing it. It's outrunning the warm front a little bit, not just hanging on to it. I think the instability is better down to the south too, but not so much the north. That's why the storm that went through Champaign packed a little bit of a punch, had some great thunder with it, but then fell apart as it moved through town to the north and east because it's just away from that source of lift, that boundary with that warm front. So the boundaries are going to be a big play here for some of these storms. But again, that is until 11:30, a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. That does include Coles and Edgar County. Radar indicated hail potential there up to 1 inch. And south of Tuscola, now that storm's starting to weaken a little bit more as well. We're going to throw it back to the storm tracker just to see where Jacob is. Oh, maybe not. Let's pull it back a little bit more because I know we've got more of the viewing area than just Coles and Edgar County, but we've got some more development of thunderstorms, not severe just yet, out towards Springfield, Petersburg, Beardstown, and Murrayville, even Jacksonville, just south of Jacksonville. More showers and thunderstorms kind of pulsing up, and I did mention in the forecast today that we would see just little spots of storms kind of pulse up, pulse down, bring some heavy precipitation at times with them, and this is not the main event. The main event comes later on in the day. We're going to stick with that one cell down to the south for just a little while longer. Looks like it's trying to pick itself back up here as it goes to Garland and Redmond. There we go. See? You can see it kind of fizzled out. Now it's starting to pick back up closer to Redmond. That would be the spot between Redmond or actually Borton. That's where we would see a better chance for a little bit more of the hail along 133. That's where you would see it. 133 and potentially 49. Those would be the spots to watch out for heavy precipitation at the very least. Again, the storm's moving to the north and east at about 55 miles per hour, so it does include Edgar, Chrisman, Edge of Raven, but not including Paris or Cologne either. May is also in there as well. That's still about 11:30. And Jacob, as we saw earlier in the storm tracker, had some hail with that other cell. That one's starting to fizzle out a little bit there closer to Arcola and Tuscola, but this is the storm right now that we're really focusing on with the severe thunderstorm warning at 11:30. And again, we really were expecting more of the severe thunderstorm warnings to come later in the day, I should say. Earlier this morning is what we were thinking, but now we're starting to see a few more start to pop up here this morning. Let's pull back a little bit more. You can see that just more garden variety thunderstorms starting to pick up a little bit there towards our west. In places like Springfield, even west of that, closer to Beardstown. Some of those cells are starting to pick back up here. You can see that over time. I think the warm front's starting to influence them a little bit here. And again, we had those cells. Let's take a time lapse back to those cells earlier. We had that one near Sullivan that was warned, and then the one there south of Charleston, north of Effingham. That's the one that I was watching out for, fizzled out, and then pulsed right back up. And I think that pulsing is a lot due to that warm front. That warm front's basically from just Charleston, between Charleston and Decatur is right where that little boundary is kind of moved along here. It's having a big influence on that. Yeah, that one over by Tuscola, not too far from Newman, that one's starting to fizzle out a little bit more. But if you're just joining us, this is the storm we've been watching, at least two different severe thunderstorm warnings, two different cells, and now we've got this one over in Edgar County. That's the thing, the warning has been gone for the Coles County, but now Edgar County has it. going to pull it over to a different graphic here and take it off our radar just for a little bit to kind of show what exactly is going on here for today. It's been quite the day so far in terms of precipitation. We've had a couple of warnings already, but those have since started to fizzle out. And you can see a lot of them coming out from the south and east, pushing on through, pulsing. And really only 2 cells, now down to really 1, worth really looking at right now. That's the one with the severe thunderstorm warning there in Edgar County. That is until 11:30. Does include Chrisman, just north of Paris. Paris outside of that area. And even then, look at that, the precipitation within it starting to really fall apart as well. Rudman starting to see a little more of that precipitation, the heavier amounts. But that little cell is starting to, it's trying, but it's not really doing as much anymore. Even now, that latest scan, not quite as impressive with that either. We'll have more severe thunderstorm warnings on the crawl all day, and plus we'll cut in, if need to, on WCIA 3 if there happens to be a need to as we progress through the afternoon hours here. Kevin's going to have the forecast later on this afternoon. I'll have it at the noon show later on today, so join us if you will for more information about these thunderstorms as they push through the region. But for right now, this was a lot longer of a live stream than I anticipated, but wanted to get a little bit more of a heads up of what's going on here in central Illinois. We had those claps of thunder in Champaign and some hail down to the south. We checked in with Jacob. And he had some decent hail amounts to show there on the storm tracker, and that'll be out through the afternoon as well. I'm sure there'll probably be more need for it later on today, but for right now, these storms are starting to fall apart a little bit. We'll take it off air for right now, or at least the live stream right now, and again, we'll come right back in if the need arises here for today. We've got more chances for showers and thunderstorms later on this afternoon. Some of those bringing gusty winds being one of the main threats. Also the potential for 1 or 2 spin-ups out there as well, and heavy rainfall could lead to some localized flooding too. But for now, we're going to turn it back to, well, this live stream, kind of tapering it off for right now, and we'll cut back in. And if there's anything you missed in this live stream, feel free to pull it back when need be. But for right now, we're going to take things off for right now. As that warning is still in effect until 11:30 for that storm moving to the north and east about 55 miles per hour. And